Hello, and you're very welcome to another episode of the LOIWomen's podcast. It's episode 7 of season 6 here on finalwhistle.ie as we talk about all things domestic women's football in Ireland. Busy weekend of action across the under 17 and senior leagues. Aaron, the Women's Premier Division really catching fire at the moment. Some great games at the weekend. We're going to be chatting all things the departure of John O'Sullivan. Big news from Athlone late last week. They obviously went on to beat DLR 1-0, an OG from Summer Lawless. Very misfortunate OG from Summer Lawless settled that one after DLR deserved probably a point from that, or could have claimed a point from that game. We'll also be going to be talking about some other results. We've picked out a couple of games from the under 17 and the Development League that we want to have a little chat about as well. But we'll also be getting into all the roundup of all the games with highlights of all the games, some of the talking points, penalties aplenty this weekend. Some given, some not given. We'll chat about whether we feel the right decisions are made and how teams fared out from those decisions over the course of the day on Saturday. Let's start, Aaron, though. The big news of the weekend, definitely the departure of John O'Sullivan. Didn't look great from all sides. I think maybe a little bit of face was saved by the magnanimous statement John put out on social media after he left, because it's quite clear that all is not well in Athlone over the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, the one problem here in the situation is that, like, it's two managers in such a quick succession who have, like, was he sacked? Did he walk? That's the sort of slight question there, because his statement sort of intends that he John Sullivan left. Likewise with Colin Fortune last September, he left that. But, like, it doesn't look good when you've brought in a new CEO, new director of football, new people within the club. Then all of a sudden, under the CEO's tenure, you have two managers leaving within such a short period. Considering one game in for Sullivan, granted, a draw against Sligo Rovers, I'm not entirely sure how much that result, and I don't think it did really have any bearing on the decision. Like, it's one of these that it sort of opens a lot more questions in terms of Athlone Town. It doesn't necessarily fill you with confidence, especially when you see sort of the turmoil within the club under previous ownership as well. That sort of happened and gone around in the merry-go-round. It's difficult because there's some really good players there, really high talent youngsters coming through the club. There's a lot of things that are being done right in terms of the women's side, and then to lose two managers within a couple of months, then it's one of these that
losing one manager is unlucky. Losing two is just careless, right?
Yeah, but the side of it is and the one side thing is, and it's the same with everything. There's your side, their side, and probably the truth, and there's so many different stories sort of floating around as to things didn't happen, what happened, something was supposedly said, John, there's so many different things, and the problem here is like, we'll never really get the truth. That's the problem with it. We'll never really get the full understanding as to what's happened, but it's definitely a bad look for Athlone. Granted, they got
given how well they did last year in terms of the European run in particular, but also their dominance of the domestic competitions. Like, they should be going into this division with ambitions to push on again and go around further in Europe, generate a bit more revenue out of Europe, and really push on some of the players they brought back to the league and signed in the league, keeping the likes of Maddie Gibson, Hannah Weish. You're looking at that Dana Sheriff coming back in, some of the really exciting young talent. This should be an upward trajectory for Athlone, and all we're seeing is setback after setback in the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, and that's the problem there, and that's the situation there. Like, it sort of started towards the end of last season into pre-season with the sort of swirling talk of certain underage players sort of being told they have to play in the Development League this year, and then all of a sudden, them players hightailing off to other clubs and doing well at other clubs as well, might I say. But, like, the squad that Athlone have, like, I know it was sort of mentioned here about could they go unbeaten this season, and I've seen it on social media sort of being mentioned about Athlone potentially going unbeaten. Like, that would probably have to be the sort of ambitions in terms of the squad that they have. Granted, they've started the season off very slow. The next appointment has to be somebody with league experience, has to be somebody who knows women's football, has a really good understanding of women's football, and knows the ins and outs of sort of what they're going to expect because the problem for me here is that if depending what route they go here, like you can't at this stage, this sort of team, like I wouldn't be looking at bringing somebody in from men's football. Definitely not, because I think the league is at a stage where you need experience. Whether even if you like, and we've seen even with say Kieran Kilduff, with the fact of when he came into the team, he had college experience, which knew a lot of the players, knew and like we even see Leah Doyle talking so highly about him, the Shelbourne defender, talking about him, about how he was so good for her when she was in Maynooth. And like, you need somebody who's going to come in here and know the league. I think if you go with somebody who doesn't, it could be a massive setback for Athlone. Like, they're already sort of, how do you say, they're on the back foot in terms of performances. I wouldn't be surprised if it's signed, sealed, and delivered though before this week.
Like, if I had said to you a few minutes after the cup final whistle last year that they'd draw with Sligo Rovers and just about beat DLR at home, you'd kind of say I was crazy. And that's exactly now that's very disrespectful to the two sides who have improved immensely over the off season. Let that be said. But even still, Athlone should be wiping the floor with both of these squads.
Athlone should be comfortable, absolutely comfortable against both of these sides. I mean, we will talk about both them sides later on when we actually go through them anymore. But like, yeah, they should be comfortable, should be beating them. And like, to their credit, like, they scraped both games. And like, the problem is if player confidence dips, it'll be a difficult one to pick back up if player confidence dips, especially considering they have had a lot of turnover, even though they've kept a lot of that squad. But like, as you say, the capabilities that are there are unbelievable.
You mentioned off air that you wanted to chat about a particular game, one game in the Women's Development League. Let's when we're talking about Athlone, without sticking the knife in, let's chat about Athlone. They have a bit of a history now of playing girls within the letter of the law, but maybe not necessarily within the spirit of the law in terms of the quality of girls they're dropping down to their second team. Fully entitled to do it, but not sure who it's really helping. 1-1 with Dundalk this weekend. They came from behind to seal a 1-1 draw. They'd be disappointed with that, given probably 4 or 5 girls with first team experience.
Izzy Ryan, everybody's been absolutely talking and raving about Izzy Ryan this year. Everybody's been talking about Emma Mooney's performances. She got player of the match in the President's Cup.
Alexa Strickland as well.
That's Hazel Donegan, got 5 goals in 2 games coming into this game. And yeah, say Alexa Strickland as well, who actually coincidentally missed the penalty as well in that game. Like, you start to think of that lineup, and you sort of think Dundalk are in for a long, long evening. But like, that just goes to show the sort of confidence with a team who's doing well in the development league. If they come up against one of the top teams, like we talked about CK United a couple of weeks ago about how they'd sort of played a lot of the women's Premier Division teams who have the teams in the development league. Where for Dundalk to sort of come up against this test, considering they'd lost the Bows, I think it's a massive confidence booster for Dundalk, who were they now joined top of the league with
Athlone.
With Athlone and Shells, like it's great. It's good. Like, the problem there is like Athlone need to play these players. You know what I mean? That the Athlone need to play, and that's the other side of it there, and that's where we sort of talk about the league and how the league is key and important. Like, if you look at that at their bench today, Strickland didn't come on, Hazel Donegan come on as a sub, Emma Mooney come on as a sub, Izzy Ryan come on as a sub. Like, there's players there that are not playing, and that's where I think.
Yeah, I agree. I might sound a bit harsh when I introduced the segment, but I agree with you. This league was set up to do 2 jobs: A, provide senior football for the new clubs, and B, provide reserve football and under 23s, and that stepping stone where those girls can mix, the girls who aren't quite in the first team and the girls who are too old to play under 19. And I think it's Athlone have probably, in retrospect, Athlone probably have actually done that the best in terms of the players who don't start on a Saturday start on a Sunday. And it does strengthen their team. And I think for teams to be competitive, like the likes of Dundalk, you mentioned CK United, St. Pat's are also doing quite well in this division. I know it's very early days. The rest probably a little bit out of their depth at the moment, but they will grow into it as their squads mature. But those 3 in particular look like they could take on a team in an FAI Cup game later in the summer. They look like in a season or 2 they might be ready for that step up to the top tier or to play against that level week in, week out. They're just a little bit ahead of the other 5 or 6 at that grade. It's exciting.
I agree, and this is where we sort of talked, and we've talked so much about the FAI Cup this year and the potential scalp. Like, this is the first thing. Like, if you look at them quartet that we've just named, or the 5 players we've just named, like, they probably start with a lot of League of Ireland Premier Division clubs, considering the form that they've shown. So for me, it's a first little test to see where Dundalk are actually at. And listen, it's all positive, and I think I absolutely expect Athlone to bounce back in that league and probably go on another run of getting more and more results. But like, I just thought it was a real interesting and a sort of an eye opener in that league, just to see Dundalk getting that point.
It does show as well the quality difference in terms of the strength of the depth of the squad of Athlone to kind of be able to put those kind of players out every week. Yeah, it's mad. Most of them didn't make every other team in the league, probably. More than likely every other team in the league, any of those girls would make it. So interesting times ahead. There's one other game I wanted to chat about, and it's just a bit of an eye-opener for me. There was a couple of big one-sided games across the under-17 league this year. I know people listening are going, what the hell are they doing talking about these leagues? We want to focus on all 3 divisions of the League of Ireland Women's this year. One of the games that struck me in the under-17 grade, and there was a couple of heavy defeats here, and when you look down through it, Shamrock Rovers had a big win, 3-0 against Wexford, which isn't great from Wexford.
13-0.
Sorry, 13-0. What did I say? 13-0, apologies. There was some big results. Cove beat Kerry 5-0, Shells beat Finn Harps, Bows beat Dundalk 3-0. Again, teams outside of the top division, not that surprising that they might be getting beaten by teams that are good results, I suppose, from Cove in that respect. The one that stood out to me, if you hear Mayo and Sligo playing each other, they're neighbours, they're right beside each other, one beats the other 11-1. I don't think anybody who follows the sport in the country would have said it'll be Mayo that win that 11-1. This is something we touched on earlier in the season, talking about Sligo and the focus on the first team this year. And I'm worried when I see the W or DL team not competing, not fulfilling one fixture against Galway because there weren't enough bodies available because of Gaelic commitments. And now we're seeing an under-17 team getting decimated by, again, from the area, have been involved with Sligo in the past, but seeing them decimated by the team that didn't exist in the early days and would be seen within Sligo circles as being kind of a ripe picking ground for talent. We'll take the best of them, and whoever impresses, we'll take them. That's a big, big worry for Sligo in terms of women's football going into the future.
Scary. Absolutely scary in that situation. But like, no more than that result is a scary result is the fact of the magnitude of a Premier Division side like Wexford being beaten by that much by Shamrock Rovers. To me, that's as bad a sort of result in the context of established Premier Division clubs should not be seeing them sort of results with their underage academies.
In terms of the academy development, like, obviously the prime reason for the academies to exist is to develop players, not necessarily to win leagues, trophies, and titles. But we're Ireland, we focus on finals and trophies way too much in this country over player development. When you're running an academy and you're 6 or 7-0 up, like, you just change your team, you know.
Like we seen the other day, Bows were sort of comfortable, and we'll talk about it in the second half. And Alan Murphy brought on a lot of youngsters, and he sort of said to me, when it's finished interviewing me, he started saying, like, in a tight, close game against, say, Athlone, he said it might be a case where I bring on one of the more experienced players, and it's recognizing the situation as well, to say, okay, this is sort of what we need to do. This is where we need to go. Interesting on the academies, because I don't know if you've read, John Fallon had a piece in the Examiner where they were sort of talking about the academy structure and the new positions that the FAI had out the other day. One female coach got through the initial applications. Yvonne McGrath, who was ex-Wexford and a CK United coach, was the only one to get through the first stage of the candidate process, where now to go into interviews with the clubs. Some interesting names on that as well. Ex Premier Division managers for the men's side. So I think the academy structure, what I'd say to people is probably keep a close eye on the academies over the next couple of months, because it'll be interesting to see the work that's potentially on the rise in terms of funding and stuff like that for full-time academy coaches and stuff like that, where hopefully that'll help have a knock-on effect for women's football as well. Before
we leave that game, and we're going to move on because we don't like to bash teams when they're down, for me, performance of the weekend, 2 goals and 7 assists for Caoimhe O'Donnell for Mayo. Now, other players scored more goals than her. There's a Coleman scored 4 goals with 2 assists, so 6 goal involvements for her. But I just thought that doesn't happen very often. 7 assists and 2 goals.
I think two Shamrock Rovers players, I think, scored a hat trick as well. Like it's the problem, and like I see
these are anomalies as well.
Yeah,
like, these results don't happen every week, and I prefer to see less of them. But you have to be realistic as well in terms of some squads are just stronger than others, and
Breifne,
there's going to be mismatches in the early days.
I'm just looking at goal difference in the under-17s league in the Shamrock Rovers division.
Oh, maybe don't. They shoot horses. Let's not do that. No, that's not pleasant.
Scary.
Yeah, let's not go there. In terms of other things that happened over the weekend, let's get on to actually some of the football. You were in Dalymount for Bows and Cork. I saw Bows the week before in PRL Park, was impressed with them, but they seem to have even stepped up again. Fairly clinical performance, 2-0 up after 12 or 13 minutes. Never really looked like losing this game, did they?
No, absolutely not. And I put a yoke out on social media earlier today asking people about performances or comments of the weekend, and I got one back, and it was like three uncertainties in life: death, taxes, and Sarah McKevitt whipping in dangerous crosses. McKevitt's set plays for me were unbelievable for the entire game.
Before we get into it, let's just have a look at the action from the game. We've abbreviated highlights here, and we'll also hear you spoke to Alan Murphy, the Bows manager, after the game. Here's the game and what Alan had to say to you immediately after the match.
This will break for Alana McAvoy. McAvoy tries to release McKevitt. It gets to her. Sarah McKevitt's into the box, and let's fly. Great save by the keeper. And Sarah McKevitt, who scored twice last week at Peamount, almost in for her. McKevitt will take this corner on the far side for Bows. It's a good ball into the box, goes past the keeper and bundled into the net by Ciara Maher.
Yeah.
And it's a second debut goal for Ciara Maher.
Ciara Maher looking to break free as well from Amarga.
In comes the cross. Maher is there again, and a good it's in.
And it's a
second goal. Sophie Liston showing a bit of strength there to get the better of Brophy into the box, and this is a chance for Mangan at the back post. By far the best chance so far for City. Faced by Ciara Maher, and on her own on the far side is Eva Mangan. Gets the ball. Mangan with the shot, and she hits the post. What a brilliant shot from Eva Mangan. In comes the corner. It's Healy gets there first. McAvoy, great save from the goalkeeper from close range from Alana McAvoy. Most of that time though she was playing for the 19s. Great play from Leah Glennon, skips past Finnerty, open ground. If she uses Kane, she does. Savannah Kane. Kane first time ball, and it goes all the way into the net. And Bows have the third goal. Can she find Kane? She can't, but she finds Healy. And half blocked down by the Cork City defenders. And that is the last action of the game as Lauren McCabe retrieves the ball.
Joined by Bows boss Alan Murphy. Alan, first home game, first win as manager. You must be happy.
Yeah, really happy. I thought we controlled a lot of the game, and then there was a couple of obviously sloppy moments, but we recovered well from them as well. So all in, look, a really good day. Clean sheet as well, which is really important for us as a group as we mature, you know.
Does 3-0 probably reflect the dominance of the chances, the amount of sheer volume of chances you had?
I'm not sure. We probably didn't create as many clear-cut chances as we wanted to. I thought we had control of the game, but we weren't like opening them up all the time. We had a couple of shots from distance. We looked like a threat on set pieces all the time. So probably a fair reflection is my honest assessment.
The couple that they had to hit the woodwork a couple of times. You limited them. You know, they didn't have that many clear-cut chances. Like defensively, very good, especially considering they probably wouldn't have been too happy with some of the goals from last week.
Yeah, we were poor last week in terms of the goals we gave away. Sloppy again today in terms of even the one that they hit the post from. It's sloppiness from us. It's a poor pass inside, and we get them a chance to counter on us. So from that point of view, yes, look, there's still stuff to work on. But overall, a clean sheet, you can't really argue with it, you know.
Intensity from the start is probably something that you were really, really happy with, considering even before the corner for the goal, you had a chance there as well, even like that.
Yeah, it's we have a lot of enthusiasm in the group, and we're a young group, so it's important that we utilise that youthful exuberance, if you want to call it, and intensity-wise, we've got to press on in games. We've got to make sure we're getting the most out of the players that we have in the group. So it's what we tried to do today. A couple of tweaks from the team from last week. So I think it worked out.
Looked like a slight change of formation as well. Is that something that you seen from analysing the game last week, or was it more from analysing the Cork City?
A bit of both, really. I think we've got to be a little bit more adaptable. I think it's important. We've seen in the league the last couple of years, teams that are able to be adaptable have done really well. So, I think it's something we have to work on this year.
You're able to use your bench as well, give players minutes. Sarah McKevitt was talking to me saying that she had a bang in her foot, and you're able to take players off and sort of move players around. That must be pleasing as well, give players minutes.
Yeah, it's fantastic. It's everything we want to do as a club. We have to make sure that young girls are getting minutes on the pitch and they're developing on the pitch. We can develop them in training and they can get exposed to senior levels of girls and experienced players in training, but you can't replicate what happens on a match day. You see Lauren there, like Lauren comes in and she tries to take the ball inside at one side. It's Eva Mangan taking the ball off her. And you can't get that in training. You can't get that when you're playing development league. So really important that we continue to provide opportunities for the girls to play first team.
Champions coming here next week. It's another great opportunity to test yourself, and especially with a big home crowd, you'll be looking for another big performance and sort of to build that bit of momentum.
Really tough game. Barometer probably of where we are as a group. We had some really good games against them last year, so we're looking forward to it. I think you always want to test yourself against the best, and they have been for the last couple of years, regardless of who's been managing them and the change they've had in personnel and losing key players. They've always been there and thereabouts in the league and the cups for probably the last 3 years, is it? So really good test for us, but look, we get back to work on Monday and we set a plan for next week, and it's a game we're all looking forward to.
Final thing, 711 fans through the gate today for the first home game of the season. You can only really build on that and hope to continue to see the crowd come through the doors.
Hopefully, if we keep on doing well, I'm sure they will. Just spoken to somebody else there. It rained for the first 40 days when I took the job, so it's nice to see a bit of sunshine today, and that always helps as well. But look, from a club, they're really backing us as a club to try and get people through the door, and it's great to see so many people here. So long may it continue.
Alan Murphy there giving his thoughts after a fairly good performance from Bohemians, but an exceptional performance from Sarah McKevitt, involved in everything good that Bohemians did, really. Let's talk about her contribution early on. Created the corner, good effort. Probably should have done better in terms of the actual shot. I think she'd say that herself. I think you spoke to her after the game and she kind of agreed with that. But your thoughts on the on Bo's blistering start, first dozen minutes?
Yeah, it was not really what I was sort of expecting, in the sense of Bo's at times had sort of, how do you say, started a little bit slow in previous years, but they just got on the game. Yeah, McKevitt should have scored that. What did she say to me? She was saying a lot of creative play, lots of chances, just need to finish our dinner. That's the problem. It's like, I was like, that's just a brilliant line from Sarah. But like, listen, she should score that chance. She doesn't, but her delivery into the box makes it up for it. And then, like Ciara Maher even said to me, she doesn't get up the field that high that often, and to score twice. I felt a bit sorry for Cork, in the sense of, like, it was nearly game over at that stage, having to try and peg that back so early on. Like, even Barry Ryan, I was listening to him talking to the Cork City media, and he sort of said he took the fault for it, he took the blame for it. He said the players maybe weren't set up to be as aggressive as they should have been on the corners. And like, the one thing I will say is, if Cork had taken one of them two chances from Eva Mangan, especially at 2-0, who knows what might have happened. But like, I don't think it's all doom and gloom from a Cork City viewpoint. I think there was definitely periods or moments in the game where you could definitely see improvements. You can see structure, but I think there's a lot more of them to work on. I don't think really we're going to see, how do you say, I don't think we're going to see them where they're probably going to be capable for a while, because Barry Ryan's definitely trying to change things from previous managers. It's going to take a bit of time. Just hope that they give Barry the time to sort of do that and make that sort of change. But listen, there was bits of improvements. I thought against Shamrock Rovers last week as well, they showed clips of good defence, good structures, and it's a 3-0 defeat. The third goal is probably a little bit of a, how do you say, a poor,
fortuitous, maybe. Poorly defended, but it really shouldn't be rolling into the far corner like that.
No, absolutely not. And it was a brilliant play from Leah Glennon, sort of flicking the ball and making the run. And like Savannah Kane, I'd say,
did she mean it?
I'd actually probably say it's a shot, but I don't know.
It's a cross. It's a cross all day.
There's definitely not an awful lot of power on it to be a shot. I don't know. I don't think so. But I think both managers will look at this game and take an awful lot from it. I think from a Bows viewpoint, could they scored a couple of more? Yes. Una Foyle made some brilliant saves during the game. I think when you look at Cork, and especially considering they've lost quite a few players this off-season and through the summer of last season, like it's a massive job for Barry Ryan, but there's definitely positives to take from it. It's not all negative for Cork.
You asked for contributions on social media today, and you got one back from Scott Buckley saying, "I'd like to hear you discuss how Cork City are playing really well and have potential in several players, but lack of composure and clinical play is depriving them of success. They're playing well at times despite poor games." There's a ring of truth to that. They're definitely more impressive than they were through the whole of last year, I would feel. It's not quite materializing on the scoreboard or on the points table for them, but there's definitely green shoots that we haven't seen from Cork in a while.
Mangan's playing further forward as well. I thought Sophie Liston was brilliant. I thought Sophie Liston was really involved in the game. I think realistically, if Cork can find someone who's going to put the ball in the net in the sense of and not be reliant on Eva so high, because Eva's going to be their main player. We all know that. If they could get someone, I know there was a lot of talk of Ceola Bergin scoring a lot of goals in the Colleges League. Can she hit the ground? Can she score goals? I think realistically they're going to need the likes of Sophie Liston to chip in with goals as well, and probably near enough getting 6-7 goals this season to sort of get them sort of wins. But I'd be interested to see when they sort of play against teams who are maybe at their level at this stage to see where they really are at.
Cork have announced a signing today of Fiona Doherty, not the Sligo Rovers Fiona Doherty that we know from the league, but a new player comes in. She's been involved in the US at Salmon Bay and University of Vermont, and most recently in Panathinaikos in Greece. She's a midfielder. She's coming from the collegiate system, so she's going to be of a certain standard. Does she give them an extra weapon in the arsenal to maybe raise the standard a little bit in Leaside?
It's hard to say. We've seen, and it's just the same conversation we sort of had last week as well about some clubs be doing very well when they bring in the collegiate group, players from abroad, and others not so well. It'll be one that we probably have to have a little bit of a watching eye to see, can she add a bit of impact? If she has a bit of quality, she'll definitely add an awful lot to them. But I think from a Cork City viewpoint, they just need to replace the likes of the goals that Christina Dring would have scored from last year that not been available this season.
Watch this space in that situation. And let's move on. Rovers versus Peamount. Neither of us in Tallaght, but we both watched this game on Saturday. Let's have a quick look at the action, and we have a few talking points we want to talk about as well after we do this.
Koala Shane, Dimmer right and him or Shane, Sive Doyle, agus Lauren O'Callaghan, Le Peamount River Shop, especially the Geary, but I guess not doing you.
Desha Wide, Kalua. Oh, it's there for real.
Sophie Bourne, Bishi there and Doffy on Kachach, agus Bishi on a wa. The Despondency, Doffy and Merchico, agus Ashiko,
Ish, stops the Moscow Kenny, Aaron Cowan and Shin, the Corbin of Harris and Chasnon. There's Gavin Mock and Shot, Gala Malloy, Buttoon, it cuts in Peamount ain't there. Malloy Fosig Dog, I expect Cormac on kick Erica or to get to come out, Shin it comes to cool Dara. And this kicks it, Toka, Eleanor Ryan Doyle, stops the musket, Robert Erie Glonna, Dash and Shire bought it. Of his square, it stops the lead on, Cool fights it, Peamount United, of his Honix and Shin off flat. It's a Reach O'Connor, then to Gamataki. There's pass on Lodgers, Jockety Malia, Dash and Shire, Bodge, Dirk, Sadara Lat. Or there's a Rocky, she should have struck. Toss and struck. Malia. Connie Matuskini and Dara Lat.
Most of the action in the first half there, we kind of cut that short because there's a few talking points we wanted to spend a bit of time on. Your thoughts initially? I think this is probably the biggest surprise result of the last little while in the league, because I don't think any of us gave Peamount a chance in this clash when we heard 3 or 4 of the defections from Peas to Shamrock Rovers over the last couple of months.
Peamount have a knack of getting results against Shamrock Rovers.
Yeah.
They have a real knack of getting them results.
There's nothing like a bit of local rivalry, is there?
Like, they've beaten them several times in Tallaght Stadium. The last time they even played in Tallaght Stadium, they beat them 1-0 as well. Like, it's just one of these that, you can never really write Peamount off in these games. I definitely think Peamount had a lot of chances in the game. Shamrock Rovers had a lot of chances in the game. If I look at it, you sort of think it wasn't as free flowing as it was against Cork the week previously with some of the passes and some of the plays. The one thing I will say is Gary Seary had his charges well and truly riled up and ready to go for the game. They were on the money in the sense of intensity was there, what they needed to be. They didn't really let Peamount settle. It was interesting seeing James O'Callaghan on the other side of the dugout and not being in the Peamount colours against Peamount. It was sort of a bit of a strange one, but like the first goal, it's a calamity. And then to come out and see concede a second, another poorly defended goal straight out not long after half time. You're sort of putting yourself right on the back foot in that situation.
Well, before you move from that, because I've made a lifetime of disappointed women. I'm about to disappoint two women at the exact same time here. The first goal, you mentioned it. It was a calamity, but we also think it's not recorded accurately. That unfortunately, as impressive as she has been all season in the two games we've seen her play this year, Peamount did obviously have Sophie Byrne make a really big impression. She's been excellent, but we don't think she got the goal. Unfortunately, we think it might have come off Aoife Brophy's foot last. I've slowed it down, so we're going to have a little quick look at it, and I'll get your thoughts on it then. So as you can see, the ball's coming across. Mary Phillips misses it, goes in with Lauren O'Callaghan, gets a ricochet. Ricochets then off Maria Reynolds into the path of Byrne, who looks to bury the ball past Budden. But as you can see, it doesn't quite come off her foot the right way, and it ends up coming off the trailing foot of Brophy there. I think was it Brophy come off? I'm not quite sure.
It looks like Brophy.
Yeah. So Brophy wasn't playing.
No, not Brophy. Who was the left back? Sorry, apologies. Who was the left back?
Oh, my mind's gone blank now. Looking through the list.
Yeah.
Ella Kelly, was it?
Could be Ella Kelly because it's not Roisin McGovern. McGovern's too tall at that stage.
But it's just one of those unfortunate ones where the both players go. It takes a touch off the Byrne's foot, which is probably enough to change the trajectory once it hits the defender's foot and ends up in the back of the net. It's just one of those.
I think the pace that sort of hit the defenders, pace that sort of hit the defender, it's sort of, and then Amanda Budden can't really do anything about it.
Now, I had to watch that back in super slow motion about 8 times today to actually see it.
You made me do this.
I know. But so I'm really sorry.
It's interesting on that, and the FAI still have an FAI Connect that it's down as a Sophie Byrne goal, whereas they've actually gone and changed one of the other goals this weekend from an attacker's goal to an own goal now. So
that one was a bit more clear cut. We'll talk about Summer Lawless later on in the program. There was one other issue you brought up before.
Even before we talk about the other miss, right? I want to go back to Sophie Byrne.
Okay.
I've been chatting to League of Ireland journalist Darryl Geraghty about her today, and he sort of said to me, she's had the breakout performance like Madison McGuan had last year against Russia Littlejohn for treaty against Shamrock Rovers. And we sort of asked that question amongst ourselves, sort of who's going to be that next one after Madison McGuan. I think Sophie Byrne could be the next one. I think she was excellent, even this week and last week.
Yeah, it's mad how she went the opposite direction as a youngster who couldn't break into Shamrock Rovers last year, and she's the player of the match. Scores
penny for James O'Callaghan's thoughts.
Well, it's like football. These things happen in football. Nobody can predict anything with 100% accuracy, but it's just interesting. And maybe that deal was done no more than we talked last week about Wexford players being gone before Dave O'Connell came in. That deal might have been done before last season ended. Players and they're at that age, their parents are involved in discussions probably from June, July, August. It shouldn't happen, but we all know it does. Players are just unsettled or want to move elsewhere, feel of a better opportunity. And I suppose you can't really fault her. She took the gamble. She moved clubs. It's definitely worked out for her. I was talking about her. I think we mentioned her on the show last week as well, but I was talking about her last week. She stood out in the game against Bohemians the week before as well. So it's not one game. It's not one breakout performance. It's now 2 back-to-back. So at 16, that's really, really impressive. Let's move on to the miss for Rovers, because I know she was on the show last week. Again, might as well keep disappointing women tonight. Emily Corbett would probably be kicking herself with an opportunity where she managed to get away from Della Doherty. Della took a step or two too far forward, left Corbett with arguably a relatively straightforward effort, couldn't get it on goal. Let's have a look at this early chance for Shamrock Rovers.
Muid a caint faoi Peamount agus the Rága bhfuil si có óg I may Rága ar Aoibheann Murphy O'Connor agus Sulphurn bhí siad ar an dáithíhan caite agus bhí siad an óha bhí despáinte síntach an mertico agus tá si có óg
Is Jackson wants to go Kenny Aaron Ciara chin of Corbin of Harris and Chasnon.
Yeah, she won't be happy to watch that
I
back.
don't know if that's as bad a miss as the other one she had.
Was that the one you were talking about? Apologies.
No.
I clicked
when
the wrong one.
She was two on goal and one-on-one the keeper sort of took the shot a little bit early and comes off the woodwork. Like,
maybe you did give me the wrong timestamp. I was giving out to you for giving me the wrong one earlier. Sorry.
But like, listen, you look at that. You look at some of the chances that Rovers had. Like, Rovers had enough chances in the game. It's just execution. Like, I don't think Sive Doyle, Ella Malloy, I don't think that sort of axis necessarily clicked on Saturday. I don't think it necessarily clicked the way it sort of clicked the week before. And listen, as much as Rovers have gone and invested a lot into the squad this year in the sense of the change they've had, it is going to happen in the sense of you're going to have bad performances. You're going to have this sort of thing. And like the biggest thing for them is it's sort of how do they bounce back off the back of it? And that's probably what's a bigger thing for James O'Callaghan's side, because a loss is a loss. As much as he'd be licking his wounds, having lost to his old club, you know, I'm sure back on the training pitch, there's a lot of things that Rovers will be looking at there to see can they do better. Roisin McGovern getting sent off late on as well won't have done him any favours in the sense of it, and it just compounded the misery a little bit for him.
Yeah, no, that's unfortunate as well. I was very impressed with some of the youngsters that came on for Rovers towards the end of the game, particularly Della Cowper-Gray. I was quite impressed with. I thought she added a real attacking vibrancy that maybe they missed in patches in the middle of the game. They were definitely there at the start, but kind of faded out of it. And St. Ledger, who came on, the centre-back, came on towards the end. I think she played up front or kind of an attacking role, so not quite sure where she's going to fit into that team, but she looks like she has a bit of potential as well. We've only really seen fits and starts from her 10 minutes the first game, nearly half an hour this time, so we'll see how she grows into that squad as that squad evolves. Can Rovers bounce back? They go to Sligo this weekend?
They can bounce back. When we talk about Sligo, we'll talk about a lot of positives in Sligo last weekend, despite the result. I think they can bounce back, but I think they'll have to have a better performance.
Let's have a look at that Sligo game. They made the journey down the N17 to Galway United. Here's what they looked like over the course of the 90 minutes in MDC Park last Saturday afternoon.
Dispossessed in midfield by Sydney Stephens. And Galway have an opportunity now at the edge of the box. Beletic tries to pick out Emma Doherty, and she has a clear shot at goal, and it's tipped over the bar by Bonnie McKiernan. Mullins tries to pick out Bergin. A combination of Beletic and Donnelly get the ball clear, but it's only found Sydney Stephens, who has an opportunity to run the Galway United defence. She gets a shot away, and it's found the back of the net. What a finish by Sydney Stephens on the edge of the area. Beletic back to Mullins. Under a bit of pressure from Jordan, and now Jordan comes away with the ball. She's got McGrory in support if she needs her, but she goes it alone, and her shot just flashes across the front post. So now Farrelly prods it forward to Amy Madden. There's a bit of space to pick her option. Costello trying to pick out Donnelly, and she gets there ahead of McKiernan, and it's a penalty for Galway United. An opportunity to open her account for the season up against Bonnie McKiernan. Two of the League of Ireland's young stars, which will come out on top here. Can Bergin make it 1-0 for Galway United? She can. She slots it home comfortably. Madden's arriving late and she's completely free. It's played right to her on the edge of the area. She can get the ball out of her feet. The shouts for a handball, and it's given. And it's comfortably put away by Ceola Bergin. Farrelly putting pressure on the back line, and Costello has a chance to run at the Sligo defence and get a shot away, and McKiernan catches the shot comfortably. It's very compact in that midfield, and Stephens comes away from it with the ball at her feet. She's got Jordan up in support. You to her right, opts to shoot, still has the ball though, and gets the ball right across the box, and Jordan gets her shot all wrong, and if she got the connection right there.
Yeah, unfortunate. In the end, Cara Jordan with an opportunity there to maybe get a point for Sligo that they probably deserved on the balance of play. Galway probably the stronger side, but Sligo give a very good account of themselves. And Sydney Stephens is growing into this league and really impressive strike. She generated that opportunity for Cara Jordan at the very end with that drive, 50 yards up the field. She's looking decent.
Watching that second chance, the one question that I'm sure Phil Trill is going to ask himself this week is, why did we let Sydney Stephens run us twice? The first goal, and then late on again, they're just backing off. I thought she was excellent.
There was one arm on her shoulder, and it looked suspiciously like there was going to be a drag back, which didn't materialize. I think she just had a second thought when it was going through her head. I'm not quite sure who it was that actually was chasing her.
Do you know what? Like, it was an even enough game. I thought Galway sort of late on the first half took over a little bit, and were good up until probably midway through the second half. Like, Galway had some chances. The two penalties, I know we'll talk about them in a minute, but like, they had chances, Galway, to extend it further. I think from a Sligo viewpoint, they'll probably be disappointed. With the fact of the second penalty for me, not even the penalty decision, the free kick that's given away for the penalty before the penalty is earned, doesn't need to be given away. It's them sort of moments, and I think, like, if you look at that and you sort of turn around and say Sligo off the back of a draw with Athlone, come lose 2-1 to Galway United, yes, they'll probably be a little bit frustrated, but there's definitely a lot of good aspects of it, and that's where we're sort of looking, in the sense of, whereas last year you probably would have talked about this sort of game and losing, and you'd be like, you'd look at more the negative side of things, whereas I think there is definitely a lot of positives with Sligo at the moment in that sort of in that sense, and how they're performing. Can they go and pick up points again this weekend? Potentially, yes, absolutely. They probably only need to make another little bit of an improvement. Like, the question you got to ask now is where do you sort of put them in that bracket? Because was the Athlone result an anomaly first day of the season? Like, it's still too early to sort of really assess where Sligo are at this stage, and you're probably going to need to see 4, 5, 6 games from Sligo to really understand, are they capable of sort of breaking into that middle four? And like, on the basis of what they've shown so far, they've shown absolutely lots of promise, but it's still too early to sort of really understand where they are.
Let's have a look at those penalties. Which one do you want to take first or second?
First one. Go with the first one.
Okay, first penalty. Obviously, Bonnie McKiernan, Moment of Madness, came out and gets nowhere near the ball. Let's have a look. Like, you can see that. I'm going to show it again just because it's very, very quick. I've slowed it down, but the ball's long gone before McKiernan makes contact with Aoibheann Clancy. And both players end up on the ground. Like, sorry for the
yellow. Is it a yellow card? I said to you earlier. The question.
Yeah, that was your question.
Because she doesn't play the ball.
Yeah, she does get a yellow card for it. But your question is, should it be a red?
Yeah.
Yeah, should be a red. And I don't know. I think for me, the penalty and a goal. How poor was the penalty? The first penalty and the attempt to save it. Didn't look great.
The reason why I asked that is because I had an English Premier League game on Friday evening in the background, and a player took another player down inside the box and was given a penalty and a red card because he didn't play the ball. So that's why I sort of, especially after seeing that the previous evening, was sort of wondering that sort of question. But like, we've seen the same happen with, I think it was Athlone last year against Shamrock. Was it Athlone against Shamrock Rovers, where there was a red card for a similar situation where it didn't play the ball in the box and gave a penalty away? I think, you know what? I think it's absolutely no doubt about it. It's a stonewall penalty.
Yeah.
Second one is, for me, is a little bit more conscious.
Yeah, it's not quite clear cut. I still think it's given most times. But let's have a quick look at that. It was from, obviously, Amy Madden. That free kick we talked about, Amy Madden has an effort. It's blocked down in midfield for Sligo by Cara Jordan, I think. Turns her back to the ball. We'll play it again the second time, but she turns her back to the ball and it comes off what appears to be an arm, but the arm appears to be down her side and then comes up when it's hit by the ball. So it's not a great angle. It's very blurry in that shot as well, but because we've zoomed in on it. But it's just not conclusive. But I think you probably see it given more often than you don't.
Madden's reactions for me is probably what's the best one. she just plays on, goes to the ball. You see, I think it's Remy Tillotson and Niamh Farrelly screaming for the penalty, whereas the other, where Madden is just play on and then the referee gives it, you see the little clap of the hand with a teammate, sort of been like, great, we got it. But like in the end, like it's one, as you say, it is one of them you see given, you see not given. If it's given for you, you're delighted. If it's given against you, you're absolutely fuming. But referee has a decision to make. Referee thought it was a penalty, and listen, it was calmly converted then by Ceola Bergin for a second of the game.
2-1 with a couple of minutes left on the clock. Sligo do have an opportunity. Let's have another look at that as well. That great run from Stephens that we mentioned.
It's very compact in that midfield, and Stephens comes away from it with the ball at her feet. She's got Jordan up in support. You to her right. Opts to shoot. Still has the ball though, and gets the ball right across the box. And Jordan gets her shot all wrong, and if she got the connection right there.
Now, my question for you, we asked it earlier about Savannah Kane for Bohemians. Was that a shot or was that a cross? When the ball ricochets off a couple of Galway players back to Stephens, she has a swipe at it. Does she intend it to end up where it's going, or is she aiming for the back of the net?
I don't think she's having a shot there. If she's having a shot there, I'd be extremely worried.
I think it could potentially have been a shot. It gets very fortuitous, and then for whatever reason, the first touch from Jordan is class. Second, she'll be working on and training this week, I'd imagine.
Yeah, she'll be quite frustrated. But I thought she was one of the really, really good players. I thought Jordan was superb for Sligo Rovers. And like, listen, it's one of these where Sligo sort of walk away disappointed for different reasons to where they would have in previous years. And I think that's probably the biggest thing. And like, there's no doubt you can see what Gav Hughes is trying to do with them. You can definitely see that, and you can see the impact that they're having. But I think it's just going to take a little bit more time to really understand where they're at. But good win for Galway. Back-to-back wins, 6 points. Phil Trill will definitely be delighted with that, and he'll just be looking upwards.
There was one other thing that happened in the game over in Medici Park at the weekend. I think it's an absolute disgrace to see a player absolutely destroying a referee. Shouldn't be allowed in any walk of life in the game. I am, of course, been a bit facetious because, there was an incident. It's shown in the highlights, actually, in the very tail end of one of the clips. Niamh Farrelly just simply walking backwards at one point and just collides with the referee. It's funny. Have a look at it here. She's just walking backwards. Referee tries to stop her, but she's just taking no prisoners.
That'd be a flag at 15 yards in American football.
Absolutely. But it's just funny. And then, of course, a very friendly kind of just making sure he's all right. But it's so funny to see that we've seen Holly Davidson in the rugby. She refed a couple of games for Ireland over the last few seasons. She got absolutely taken out of it in at least 2 games I've seen. One in the Ireland game, I think one of the South African guys just hit her full speed, knocked her to the floor. She got up and was able to give the try. It happened again in the URC a couple of weeks ago. So we're used to seeing the man hitting the woman and the woman kind of just not being able to cope with it. But so it's so interesting to see it the other way around. She wasn't even going that fast. Like, we've slowed that down, but in real time, she was just trotting backwards into position. Didn't realize the ref was behind her. Not even a hand on the back stopped her, which is interesting. But fair play. Funny. I just spotted it. I said we'd include it. In terms of the rest of the games, of course, Shelbourne made the journey down to Wexford. A load of players from both sides with experience in each other's dressing rooms in recent seasons. We're going to see some of them come together for the opening goal in this highlight reel. We'll talk about it in just a moment, but this is the highlights from that game down at Ferrycarrig Park.
Has stayed on it left like that. There's a brilliant through ball for Bree Severns. Maria Sullivan gets a touch on it. Oh, what a clearance. Otherwise it could have been very costly for Wexford indeed. They are under pressure still early on, coming off the left flank this time. It's laid off to D'Amico. Does get the shot away just too close to Maria Sullivan. As Kavanagh can turn again, options aplenty. D'Amico's making another run for Aoibheann Clancy, who goes on her right side. Just fired straight at Maria O'Sullivan. Cuts inside, opts to go for a run herself. Plenty of options there. McCarn can find Olive. Becky Casson swings a leg at it. It'll come down to Liam McGrath. Liam McGrath forces a big save out of Maya Sanchez. Really good ball out to Watkins. She gets a chance to put the head down and run at goal. Watkins has 2 to aim at, sends it to D'Amico at the back post, and that's your finish. Into a great area, taken off the head of Emabuchi by Sanchez. Ciara Rossiter swing, and they got it! Ciara Rossiter strikes back. Clancy. Oh, great ball for Stephens. Gets a chance to run, flag stays down, Stephens.
What a save.
It's a brilliant save, 1-on-1 from Maria O'Sullivan. Corner now, Clancy to send this one in. Very deep to the back post. Will come down for Aoibheann Kelly off the arm potentially of the Wexford player. And huge. Walmer standing over as well. Will be Clancy off the post, down and away, and fired over somehow.
Yeah, plenty of action down there in Ferrycarrig Park, and I suppose for most Wexford fans watching that game at home, rather disappointing in some levels to see Clancy to Kelly to Watkins, all who've worn that jersey in the build-up to that first game in recent seasons. It's been a kind of a one-way system really from Wexford to Shells in the last couple of seasons, and it came to undo them on Saturday afternoon. But Shells splitting the points with Wexford did well to come back.
I love Ronan McCarthy's commentary. I love when Ronan's on commentary for me. How that game finished 1-1, I will never know. I said last week to you, I said when I left Shelbourne versus Treaty, I said I wasn't convinced over Olivia D'Amico and Bree Severance's ability to find the back of the net. And after watching this game, I'm even less convinced that they're going to be the difference for Shells. I think realistically for me, Shells need to be as close to that top of the table by the time Kate Mooney comes back June, July.
I don't know if that's fair. Now, you've seen him in the flesh, I haven't, right? But I don't know if that's fair because I'm looking back just at the highlights there. D'Amico's finish for the goal was quality. No complaints.
But look, the one like the
one just before. Yeah, but Aoibheann Clancy missed 3 of them last week for Galway, and I still think she's going to have a huge season for Galway. And Severance, that goes a foot to the left-hand side of the post rather than a foot to the right-hand side of the post. We're having a very different conversation about these strikers. So I wouldn't be so quick to hang them out just quite yet. I think when they get used to the pace of the game and the physicality of the Irish game versus the US collegiate game, I think there's no reason why they can't grow into that. We've seen other players struggle to get to grips. But your mind's made up.
I'm not convinced. I'm not convinced. I'm curious to see when Emily Craft gets fit as well. Does Emily Craft come back into that team for Shells? I know she's out injured at the minute.
I'm just putting in the order for humble pie. Hang on. 1 second.
That's all right. I'm used to it. But what do you call a successful season then in that situation then?
Well, I judge them wouldn't judge them before the halfway point. If they've no goals 10 games in, then maybe yeah. But D'Amico has won 2 games in. So
that's so many chances in that game.
Yeah, but we could say that about a lot of players in the league. I don't know the girls. I've never seen them play in the flesh. I can't comment necessarily on
I hope it ends up being successful for her, but I have concerns. I have concerns, and
Julie knows
for me, that was my biggest concern with Shells this year is firepower up front, because there's no doubt about it. Becky Watkins is sensational.
Yeah.
Was sensational again. Aoibheann Kelly is going to run midfield for them alongside Alex Kavanagh and Aoibheann Clancy, because the 3 of them together is just actually scary.
Well, Kavanagh allows the other 3 effectively to have that opportunity. And you've mentioned 2 that could come in and compete. And I think if you start looking at that front 5 as 7 potential players to come in there with the 2 girls who are unavailable at the moment. Obviously, Emily Craft, we don't quite know when she's going to be ready to come in, but we do know that Mooney's going to be out for another couple of months at least. So it's going to give those girls the opportunity to come in and do something.
Interesting. He actually made subs at half. He took D'Amico off at half time in that game for Mayo Woolmer.
She impressed me in the second half.
Mayo Woolmer, if Mayo Woolmer does what I'm sort of hearing in and around the Shelbourne in the sense of the way they're talking about her, if she lives up to that potential, which I think she can, she could be the next player we're adding to that list of unbelievable young talents. Has all the potentials. Let's
have a quick look at a penalty shot that was shot down. It didn't actually go anywhere. Last seconds even of the first half, ball appears to strike the arm of a Wexford player. I've slowed it down again. Sorry, I'm doing this week. Players are going to hate this, but it's good for the game. Here's the shot. So the shot comes in, and it appears to come off the arm of the defender on the line, who by her body language even looks that, oh no, I've given this away. I've slowed it down even more and stopped it at the point just so you can see it, because it's a bit hazy. Like, it's very clearly come off her arm.
Even Ronan McCarthy.
How do we not see a penalty given for that?
That's a very, very, very interesting question. And the honest answer is, I do not know.
Yeah,
it should have been a penalty.
Yeah. That being said, I think Wexford were well worth their point. I thought their goal, Rossiter's goal, the punch wasn't great, but wasn't terrible. Definitely cleared kind of the danger area. But it was the second ball and the one touch from Casson and the one touch from Rossiter. I think just the speed of the response, and that's the experience of the two girls as well. Do you know what I mean? It just took Shells by kind of a bit surprise, and I don't think Sanchez was expecting the snapshot from Rossiter. Maybe not in the league long enough.
McGrath earlier on forcing a good save from Sanchez, but like when Clancy's free kick hits the crossbar and Pearl Slattery blazes over, you know it's not going to be your day. I thought Shells realistically probably should have had the game dead and buried after 10-15 minutes. Should have been signed, sealed, and delivered on a plate, but when they didn't and they let Wexford in, the more Wexford kept going, Wexford kept building into it, and in the end, probably a draw's a really good result for Wexford.
Let's jump down to Athlone. This game played DLR Waves. We don't have the goal. We'll describe it for you because it just didn't quite record properly. There was issues on the stream on Saturday evening, but Dana Sheriff takes a long-range effort from the right wing, hits the far post, comes back, smacks off the lower legs of Summer Lawless, ends up in the back of the net. And it's unfortunate. Summer, again, another 1-0 defeat in a game where DLR probably deserved to get a point based on the effort and the hustle. But Athlone, they really can't have any complaints about losing the game. Athlone really had the lion's share. Let's have a look at some of the chances for both sides before we get into the nitty-gritty of the game.
Last season I just thought she was fantastic, and I know in boys that's Natalie McLaughlin makes a mistake, and there's a real opportunity here for DLR as they break, and that's good save by Maria Matthew. This is the corners pressing the game a little bit, but DLR Waves have two opportunities on the break as Maddie Gibson gets a great ball into Sharif, and her header just loops over the crossbar again. Sometimes it's worth having a strike, Ray, from out there.
Yeah, it is indeed, but I think word has obviously got on to the centre-backs for DLR that they need to get...
there's a real chance here now for Doonan. Not for the first time. She's got in behind and she gets the strike, but Maria Matthew with equal to the effort, but that's about the third time now that there's been a little bit of miscommunication in the Athlone defence, and a
big ball in Athlone defending the 18-yard line.
Over the head of McNally and Carrie-Ann Brown. Ball falls for Doonan. Doonan again as ever a threat in there.
Yeah, so chances at both ends. Both teams could have nicked it. Athlone probably the stronger of the teams, as you'd expect, based on kind of what came into that. But interesting times ahead for DLR. They have the potential to take points off teams though, and particularly if they can convert those chances into goals. Michelle Doonan looks to be their best outlet this year though.
If I'm Laura Heffernan, I'm walking away from that game frustrated. I'm frustrated in the sense of the chances they didn't take, and then the fact that they could see the goal. Listen, it comes off Summer. There's nothing really Summer can do with that situation. But like the fact that it's 2-1 in defeats for me, I'd be very, very frustrated. I think they were very good, DLR Waves. I think that chance early on has to be taken when through one-on-one with the keeper. Has to be scoring there. Likewise, you'd sort of say Michelle Doonan should probably be scoring that chance when she's through again. The worrying thing from an Athlone viewpoint is defence looked a bit ropey again. We've seen it a little bit last week as well. It definitely looked a bit ropey, but like Waves, you're right. I absolutely agree with you. Waves will take points off teams this year. Waves will, and they'll do it. They'll do it quite well. I thought, you know what, for young Michelle Muddyman playing centre back, I was really impressed with her. I thought she was very, very good. Funny thing is, she only won an FAI Schools Cup there recently, and like, that tells you how young she is. Didn't really look out of place there in that situation. I thought from a Waves viewpoint, it's definitely another good performance off the back of the Galway performance, but it's just that little down little fine margins. That's the difference between winning these games and losing these games. They've gone to Athlone twice. The last 2 times they've gone to Athlone, they put up really, really good performances. But it's just about how do they convert that from a loss to a draw or to a win.
I think, though, for me, it's great to see DLR in that discussion and in that competition to win individual games, because last year they would have lost that 3 or 4-0. There's a little bit more steel to them this year, and I think it'll take a few weeks, but when they get a result or two, the confidence builds in that squad. They will be better than they were last year, I think. Let's move on because we're running out of time. Treaty versus Waterford. I really enjoyed this game. Let's watch it before we come back to analyse some of the goals and some of the action. But a good win in the end for Treaty. Here's how they played at the weekend.
Great check at the shoulder there by Lawley. Good turn. Great tackle. Great tackle by Burke. And Cleary loses out. Bradley's in. It's 2v1 here if she can find the switch. What a save. What a save, Katherine Hess. O'Brien takes a good touch inside. O'Brien on her own. It's an absolutely brilliant save by Hess. Moves the feet really quickly. That looked like it was going to nestle into the top corner. Cleary finds it. Great passing. Oh, what an absolutely brilliant finish. Great ball forward. It's a great move. Oh, it's good defending. Second run of Kate Jones. 1 out. Sets it back to Lawley. Great feet by Lawley on her left. Great ball across the front post. Oh, could be a foul on Jones here. Break here, edge box for Waterford. Another fantastic. Laura Neal wins it again. Lawley's in. Great step inside with Lawley. Brilliant finish. Ball in by Lawley. Big header. Oh, it's an unbelievable header. Kate Jones. Kate Jones with an unbelievable header from the penalty spot into the top corner. And there you have it.
3-0 end result there. How good are those three? Lawley and McGran particularly, but also Ceola Bergin kind of put her name in the record books this week as well. Great performance from her, 2 great goals. Could have had a hat-trick.
Probably should have had a hat-trick. That's disgusting from Madison McGran.
Yeah, the pass for the first goal.
Oh, when I seen it the other day, watching it, I was like to myself, "You're taking."
For any fogies that are listening to this, by the way, like myself, he means disgusting. Ironically, it's so good.
Oh, it was like I was watching it, and I'm thinking to myself, I was like, "You have not just done that." I was like, "You have not just done that."
It's the dummy, the pullback, and the little pat. Oh, just
it was unbelievable, and you were just sort of thinking to yourself, like, at that sort of stage, like Erin O'Brien has to hit the target in her efforts for Waterford. Like Waterford should have been probably 1-2-0 up at that stage. Like the one when she's through 1-on-1 and goal when Fiona Badney races through and plays through. Like it's them small margins in these games.
To be fair, she gets them on target. Just the keeper, Katherine Hess, makes 2 really good saves. But you're right, one of those needs to go in. Second one is probably less likely, but the first one, no more than Aoibheann Costello last week, has to score when you're in that situation.
Yeah, and then that's a completely different game. Treaty are chasing the game. Like the one thing I'd say about it is for a 3-0 game, like as you said, it was quite enjoyable. I don't necessarily think I think the result maybe and is a little bit unfair to Waterford in the sense of like they were actually quite good in the game. They were decent in the game, but that little bit of extra quality from Treaty sort of took over, and especially in the second half. And like when you're talking Katie Lawley, she was involved in absolutely everything good as well. When it comes to Mara McCleary, also sort of was really good stepping forward. Like we'd sort of said last week, Treaty would take points off teams, and I think Treaty it was a good bounce back performance. But likewise, when we said about Sligo, it's probably still too early to say where Treaty actually going to be in terms of the other teams. And I'd
agree with that. I think it's going to be an interesting watch across the league this year. There's nobody stands out as being off the pace. Even Waterford getting beaten 3-0 by Treaty this week. Like you look at their first week out, solid performance. So it's going to be a much tighter league this year. Are Athlone going to run away with it? I don't think they're going to run away with it, but I think they're probably still the favourites to win it, but time will tell. But I don't think they're going to win it by as much as they won last year, if that makes sense. It's going to be an interesting season ahead. We are running out of time, so let's go through the results of the weekend and, of course, a full round of fixtures in the Women's Premier Division. Here's the results. We've seen all the action. Peamount United 2, Shamrock Rovers 0. A great result for them in Tallaght Stadium. Bows winning 3-0 against Cork City in Dalymount, while Treaty matched that score down in the Markets Field against Munster rivals Waterford.FC. Of course, a Munster derby in store for them in Turner's Cross this weekend. Galway United 2, Sligo Rovers 1 in the Connacht derby. They paid the penalty for some sloppy defending, while Athlone Town 1, DLR Waves 0 in Athlone Town Stadium. Wexford FC versus Shells down in Freycarrick Park. We watched that game as well. The table as it stands, Galway United top of the table, and 4 teams all on 4 points. Bows, Peamount, Shells and Athlone all on 4 points, with Treaty and Shamrock Rovers on 3. Wexford with 2 draws to their name and they're opening 2 games. Sligo and Waterford with a point each, and DLR Waves and Cork are in the 11th and 12th position there. This week's fixtures, of course, and we'll be previewing them properly on the second show this week, which I'll be with Niamh Burke to discuss that on Thursday. Bows host Athlone Town in Dalymount. Treaty make the journey down to Cork City, while Shamrock Rovers will do battle with their counterparts, the Rovers, in Sligo in the showgrounds at 3 o'clock. All those games at 3 o'clock kickoffs. 4 o'clock kickoff between Shells and DLR Waves in Tallaght Park, while the 2 5 o'clocks Galway United versus Wexford and Peamount versus Waterford United. In the Women's Development League, only one game played. We touched on it at the top of the show. Dundalk and Athlone playing out a 1-1 draw. That leaves both sides on top of the table in Group A alongside Shells on 7 points after 3 and 4 games respectively there. Full round of games this weekend. Those teams, Shells make the journey across to Peamount. Athlone travel to Galway United, and the third team escapes my mind who they were. Dundalk, I think they could have a bye this week. I can't see them on the list there anywhere. So Longford host Drogheda, Cork host Treaty. We've mentioned the other two. Finn Harps and Bows do battle in Donegal at 2:30. Cove Ramblers host Bray. Long journey down for them at 3 o'clock, while DLR and Wexford will do battle in Marley Park at 3. Kerry and Waterford do battle in Mount Hawk Park, while Shamrock Rovers travel the very short distance to Cherry Orchard to play St. Patrick's Athletic. In the Under-17 League, a full set of games there as well. In the Under-17 League. Cork City beating Peamount 4-1. Shells with a big win against Finn Harps. A draw between Waterford and CK United 1-1. DLR Waves winning down in Athenry 2-1 against Galway United. Cove with a big win over Munster rivals Kerry. Club Kildare going down 3-1 to Bray Wanderers. Bows with a 3-0 win over Dundalk. Mayo, we mentioned at the top of the show, an amazing 11-1 victory over Sligo Rovers, while Drogheda, they beat Longford 1-0. Pats and Treaty drew 1-1, while Shamrock Rovers with a big result there against Wexford 13-0, the final score there. And on the league tables, Rovers lead in Group A, unbeaten, 4 wins from 4, 29 goals. It's an impressive start to the season so far. They top Group 1. Group 2 sees Athlone top of that table, and Group 3, Pats, they lead by a single point from Peamount and Cove Ramblers, and probably the tightest group of the Under-17 competition. Bohemians, 5 wins from 5. They top Group 4 in that grade as well. This week's fixtures on the screen there. You'll get them, of course, on FAI Connect and on the Final Whistle website. Aaron, from our point of view, we must again thank the League of Ireland and the FAI, TG Car and LOI TV for their help in putting together the show this week. The access to the highlights, I'm sure those watching will appreciate how much it adds to the show, and we do too here as well. So thank you to everybody in the league office and the FAI for their help with that. Anything before we sign off, Aaron? Thoughts? You did mention that you wanted to talk about attendances, perhaps. We talked about it a little on the show last week. We've now seen
massive dip this week. 2,125 last week, down to 1,800 this week. Like, you're talking Bows got 7-11, and you're talking the rest of the games, the other 5 games between them literally struggled to get 1,100 fans. It's not really a good look either, is it? And I know there was a lot of talk from the FAI about having the games all played at 3 o'clock and 5 o'clock windows split. I don't think that'd work either, and it's disappointing to see the crowds down. But then I said to somebody on social media yesterday, I said, it's not even just a women's soccer problem. I mean, you were having that conversation over the weekend. It's an all women's sports problem, unless it's an international sport. Then they get some of the crowds. But if it's any domestic leagues, women's, they just don't seem to get the attendances, no matter what some organisations do. And it's disappointing.
Yeah, I think we could flog this one until we're blue in the face with it. But it's just, I think we need to make more of an effort. And we're seeing it now with the investment in the academies, with the investment in some of the stuff. I think clubs need to focus on putting bums on seats, getting kids, because kids are the lifeblood of the sport. I would be happy getting no money in the door from 1,000 kids coming to a League of Ireland Women's Premier Division match, because in 10 years' time, those kids are either on the field or they're still in the stand. A lot of them would still be in the stand if they're managed properly. And I use that kind of fairly loosely in terms of that. But in terms of looking at the life cycle of a fan, from 6 to 12-year-olds coming into the ground for the first time, excited with her parent or with her teammates from her underage team, buying her first jersey, coming to her second game, getting involved and wanting a poster of her favorite player, and building out the merchandise and building out the experience where you're making a Sarah McKevitt or a Madison McGuan or whoever it might be in her club as her hero from the age of 8 to 18. And we've seen it before with the Anya Gormans and the Stephanie Roaches and these girls who broke through, the Katie McCabe's. They're on young players' walls all over the country in terms of people they look up to. And it's about time the league started generating that and believing in itself a little bit. I think sometimes the clubs are as responsible as the FAI for promoting within their own catchment areas, and they are the custodians of the game across the island, and they need to just maybe prioritize the promotion of these games as much as it needs, if that makes sense. Because I know it's difficult, I know it's hard when you've got limited resources and, more importantly, limited time from volunteers, and the idea of recruiting a new player or coaching an entire squad is a bigger priority than maybe getting the buzz out there about the team. And it's expensive. It's not necessarily quantifiable in terms of the direct response from effort you put in. And I get all that. But there needs to be a conscious effort across the league, either centralised or individually as clubs, to raise their profile. If Bows can bring in 700 or 800, there is no reason. Let's be honest, a mid-table team over the last few seasons, there's no reason why other clubs can't do the same. Sligo, by all accounts, have been terrible for a few seasons. They had 500 or 600 in the showgrounds last week. So relatively speaking, if Sligo can do that with a poor to average team, no disrespect to Sligo, but that's the history of them in recent seasons, that's achieved very little on the field in the last year or two, and they can not fill the stadium, but they can put 500, 600, 700 people on in the stadium. There's no reason why any other club can't do it. Like Shamrock Rovers and Peamount, 100 something I saw, 130,
300, there was 300, what was it?
I apologize.
371, there was 114 in Wexford.
Sorry, that's the one I'm mixing up, yeah. Yeah, that's the one I'm mixing up. Apologies.
There's two games there, Aoibheann Park, Ferry Carrick Park, and Athlone Town Stadium. None of them break 300 fans.
Yeah, it's not great. It's not great. What's the answers, though?
That is the question. That's the $1 million question, and I think women's sport, we as a conjoined approach across all of women's sport. I don't know what needs to change, but something has to change across the board. And I don't think it's just blame the associations all the time and say they're at fault, because
I agree on that front. Clubs need to step up and be part of the solution as well. We have overshot the runway by about 10-15 minutes, so apologies. We're trying to keep it to the hour because we've split it into two shows.
You are.
We should. I am trying to keep it because I listen to podcasts, and when I see it going over the hour, I don't want to listen to it. So I understand the listener's journey through the last hour and 10 minutes with us here. But thank you so much for sticking with us. Aaron's not with us on Thursday for the preview show this week. It'll be myself and Niamh Reid Burke, former Peamount United goalkeeper and Ireland goalkeeper. The record league titles, I think she still holds that record. Yeah, it's a phenomenal achievement. It's nearly half of the leagues ever played. She has won, which is just unbelievable. But yeah, she's the record titles holder in the league, and she'll join me on Thursday to go through a preview of the weekend's action. We'll also be chatting to Laurie Ryan, the treaty manager, as part of that show. Aaron, thanks for joining me as always, and we'll be back with you Thursday with Niamh Farrelly, back again with another show reviewing all of the weekend's action. But wherever you're going to a game, do get out, do enjoy it, and let us know how you get on, and if your thoughts, who played well, who impressed you, who didn't. We want to hear it all on social media. Get in touch and let us know. Talk to you then.